Hello friends, welcome. Friends, this is a very significant news. BSNL registered profit of rupees 280 crores in Q4. Now friends, when this news came, I saw a lot of videos in YouTube where they have been projecting BSNL as a threat to Reliance Jio and Bharti, because now BSNL is sustaining profit, which is there was a positive profit in Q3. Now there is another positive profit of 280 crores in Q4, because in Q3 there was a profit of 262 crores, right? So for a period of 18 years, if you look at this minister's statement, Honorable Communication Minister Jyotirad Scindia said, under the visionary leadership of Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, today we mark a historical milestone in evolution of telecommunication sector. This is a landmark moment of BSNL journey. For the first time in 18 years, BSNL has posted consecutive quarterly net profit, which is very important. Why consecutive? Because in Q3, 260 crores of profits were posted. In Q4, they have posted a profit of 280 crores, which is very significant. Now, friends, what I am planning to do in this video, I will do the same thing which I did in my earlier video. So I'm going to show you that when BSNL posted 262 crores of profit in Q3, I have posted a video to analyze from where this profit came, right? Whether this profit came from organic growth or there was certain accounting jugglery, right? And I figured out that the depreciation and amortization cost of BSNL, I'll show you my Excel sheet and we'll analyze it better. So if you look at the Q3, this is the Q3 for FY26, the depreciation and amortization cost, which is the cost of depreciation of tangible and intangible asset, that instead of showing a loss actually showed a profit, and therefore because of that this resulted in a profit of 262 crores, right? So that I don't want to get into the details of that video, because I'm going to paste a link of this video and you can look at this video. Now, in this quarter, which is the Q4 quarter, which is 31st March 2025, which item has resulted in profit and what kind of performance BSNL is doing from an operating point of view? Because if you look at BSNL, it is just like any other telecom company, Reliance Jio, Bharti and others, right? And it is projecting itself as a telecom company which is selling mobile services, 4G and 5G, as well as internet services, which kind of includes fixed line broadband services also. So their primary business is mobile services, right? But it can also generate some supplementary income from selling its asset, monetization of its land, etc. Those BSNL has acquired just because because of historical reason. It didn't do much to acquire those assets. So if they are monetizing those assets, which is good, they should be, but it does not reflect on the operating performance of BSNL. So what we will do in this quarter, because the annual statement is still not out, what I have in front of me is the PIB release. So if you look at the PIB release, all these numbers have been listed out. Now, since these numbers have not been listed out in a time series manner, and since I already have a time series of quarterly profits of BSNL, I have extrapolated some of the numbers from the PIB release, PIB release, and I'm going to take you through each and every number, how I have extrapolated, and then we will analyze that whether this profit has been generated because of operational performance, it can be sustained, or it is just one-time profit because of monetization of their land and other resources. Because if you see here, one of the important item which it has been called out here, if you see here, I'll show you, asset monetization. This asset monetization is a critical item. Now, any company will not be able to sustain asset monetization, because if you look at asset monetization, 11,020 crores, which is 77% plus from the previous financial year. Now, this can't be sustained unless there is a lease asset, if they are given for lease, which I don't know, right? But I don't think asset monetization is a sustained activity. It is not an activity which is the primary business of a company which is involved in selling telecom services and internet services, right? So let's look at what are the items which are responsible for the profit in this quarter. Just like I told you that in the earlier quarter, this item, the depreciation amortization, which was always showing a positive number, for the first time showed a negative number. And because this was a negative number, it resulted in because if you see all the depreciation amortization item, right, was positive, like 694 crores, 647 crores, 562 crores. Now, if you have a negative of 101.9 crores, then is a delta of 800 crores. And that's why, because of the delta of 800 crores, you resulted in a profit of 260 crores. Otherwise, this would have been a loss of some 600 crores. So this number of amortization of intangible asset resulted in profit in Q3, which I had clearly spelled out in my earlier video. Now, this video is going to be focused on how they have resulted in a profit of 280 crores. We are going to focus on that. Now, let's look at certain numbers, because I can clearly see the revenue from operation. Now, how did I get the revenue for operation for the Q4 of FY25? Because this PIB press release tells me that there is a revenue, the return of profitability, there is a revenue number. If we see here the revenue number, this is the revenue momentum number. So they have given me an aggregated revenue of 20,841 crores. Now, if I go here and you plug in 20,000, you see, 20,841 crores, and then subtract these items from there, I will get the item here, right? Similarly, if I go here down below, I can see that the revenue from operating revenue they have given, and they have given the total income that they have given, right? Total income is what? Total income is the operating revenue and the revenue from others. Since the total income is given, so I can do what? I can simply do the same thing, 23427 minus all these quarters, and I get that number, right? This number is 23427. Now, if you look at 23427 number here, you'll see that 23427 number here, right? So once I get the total income, which is here, this number, I can get the revenue from other, which is 1179.9 crores. I think this number somehow matches with this number. If you see here, asset monetization 1120, right? 1120. And if you look at this number 1179, they are close together. Maybe a difference of just 60 crores, right? So this whole thing, the revenue from other is coming from asset monetization. So note this, because this asset monetization, right, which is revenue from other, can't be a sustained activity unless they are giving their asset on lease and they are getting lease revenues on a sustained basis. Because I can't believe that it will be sustained basis, because if you look at all the earlier years, this number is nowhere close to the number of 1,179 crores. Only in FY22, the start of FY22, the number was 1046 crores, right? Actually, the end of FY22, because the start was of 30th June 2021. So 1046 crores. So this is just a one-off number after a long period of so many quarters, right? So therefore, if there is a revenue from other, which is significantly higher compared to what you have been seen in earlier quarter, therefore the total revenue is definitely going to be higher. So that is the reason why you will notice that if you do the yearly revenue, so let me just show you that yearly revenue from operation is 20,841 crores. In the last year, it was 19,330 crores. So what is yearly revenue from operation? You add all these 4 quarters and you get this number. Similarly, you add all this 4th quarter and you get this number, right? Like that. So you can see the yearly revenue from operation, which is their primary business, is growing at the rate of 7.8%, but it is not sustained. It actually grew at only 1.1% in FY24. It grew at 13.8% in FY23. So the growth of BSNL, as far as their primary business is concerned, mobile operations and selling internet services, did not grow at the level what it grew in FY23. So it is not that they are doing great as far as their revenue from operation is concerned. Now, revenue from other, which is basically includes asset monetization. So if you look at the revenue from other, and if I add all the 4 quarters here, this number comes out to be 2586 crores, right? Now, in the last quarter, this number is 1976 crores, right? All these 4 items, and then the last financial year, sorry, and then in the FY23 financial year, this number comes out to be this 4. If you add, this number comes out to be 1577, and Then in the earlier financial year, this number came to 2323. And because of this number, right? Like this is the one-off number. So if you look at the revenue from other operations, right? Not from the main operation, revenue from other, right? It grew at 31.2%, right? In this quarter, in the early in this year, financial year, in the last year, it was 25%, and then in FY23, it actually grew at minus 32.51% because you actually had done a one-off quarter of high asset monetization. So therefore, I am not too sure if this number can be sustained. So if DSNL is making a profit because of higher revenue, because of revenue from other has gone significantly high, looks to me that this is the result of this revenue from other. This 280 crores of profit is a result from this item, just like the 262 crores profit was a result of negative depreciation, means you actually made profit, right? Rather than depreciating an asset, you made actually profit. So in earlier, the depreciation was higher, right? In this year, in the earlier quarter, depreciation was higher, and therefore there was a result of profit of 262 crore. Here, the revenue from other, which is asset monetization, have resulted in a profit, not the operation, because the operation revenues actually have, as I showed you, it grew only 7.8%. And in the earlier financial year, the numbers were higher, and it was much more significant in FY23, right? So that's what. Now let's look at total income. The total income, all these numbers actually matches with the PIB release, right? So if you go to the PIB release and if you see here, you will find that the numbers will match. Like look at this, operating revenue went 7.8%, right? Look at this, 7.8%, right? Similarly, total income, you will see here, if you go there and you see total income 10%, right? And you will see that it matches with 10%. So whatever number I am showing you is as per the PIB release. You don't get to see these numbers because you don't have a visibility of this number, and you have not been able to extrapolate, because I have all the time series numbers, therefore I have been able to extrapolate. So the two things. First, revenue from operation didn't grow at the rate of FY23. Revenue from other grew very, very fast, and it grew faster than what it grew at FY24. But in FY23, they did it pretty bad. But this item, revenue from other, in this quarter has been substantially higher compared to any other quarter in past, except the last quarter of FY22. Now let's look at the depreciation and amortization cost. Now depreciation and amortization cost, right, this year is 16,979 crores, right? So if you look at the PIB release, and let's look at the depreciation and amortization cost here. So if you look at cost of depreciation, I think they must have given the depreciation cost here. Finance cost, increased capital, total expenditure. Here is this cost. So increased CapEx, increased depreciation amortizing cost to 6283 crores in FY25 from 5775 crores. Let me see whether the depreciation amortization cost is this depreciation amortization cost. Sorry, friends. The depreciation amortization cost is the cost if you add all these four items, which I have not shown here, right? So this number comes out to be 6283 crores. You see, 6283 crores. And if you add all these number, this number comes out to be 5755 crores. And it kind of matches with what you see in the PIB release, right? You see 6283 crores and 5775 crores, which means that whatever accounting jugglery that they did in the last quarter has been somehow managed in this quarter. You see, this quarter, this number 814 crores, which is significantly lower than 8579 crores, 1514 crores. So whatever jugglery that they have done, they have been able to fix that in this quarter. I don't know what is going on here. So there is some accounting jugglery which is going on. I'm clearly telling you this. This number could not have been so low, 814, because of this negative number, right? So they have fixed the depreciation amortization cost, and their depreciation amortization cost is increasing as it should be, because their assets are getting accumulated and they need to depreciate. But they didn't require to fix this number in this quarter because they have done a better asset monetization of 117.9 crores. And therefore, if you look at the total income, operational expense, right? Which includes, which is without depreciation and amortization and interest cost, the operational expense, which exclude interest and depreciation amortization, it comes out to be 16,979 crores versus 17,702 crores, right? So this is the expense. So what BSNL has done better, which I am going to give them full credit to, in this video, is that they have been able to reduce their operational cost, which is netted out from depreciation and amortization. Look at this number. So if I go and give you, so if you look at this, this is the addition of this 4 item and this 4 items, right? Which is the operational expense, because they have done better operational expense, and therefore their EBITDA margin has grown. Now, friends, this number does not match with the EBITDA margin number which they have shown here. So when I go here, I see EBITDA of 5,396 crores. But for me, this EBITDA margin is 3,861 crores. So there could be certain items in other expenses which probably is excluded from the operational expenses. You understand why this EBITDA margin is not matching? Because of that. So therefore, this number is shown as higher. So this could have been shown as higher because if you look at, I have only subtracted what? I have only subtracted this for cost, depreciation, amortization cost, and the finance cost here to arrive at this operational expense of 16,979 crores. So if I subtract from revenue from operation, this number, this comes out to be this number, right? 3,861 crores, which means that this number has to be lower in order for the EBITDA margin to be higher, the absolute value of EBITDA margin to be higher. But it does not matter because it gives me a trend. Because if you look at the EBITDA margin, percentage EBITDA growth without that, netting out certain portion of this line item is still showing as 18.5%, which is much higher than what you have in the earlier 2 quarters. Therefore, I can clearly tell you that BSNL has, from an operational point of view, has done better because they have reduced their employee cost and their financial costs remains the same. So so operationally, the revenues have gone slightly higher and their overall operational cost has reduced. No doubt about it, right? But their profit, right? If you look at the total profit, which is for this quarter of 280 crores, is because of this line item. And this line item may not be sustained. Because if you look at the total profit of this whole financial year, so that is what? That is the addition of this 4 line item comes out to be 2,411 minus with a negative sign. And in the earlier financial year, it was minus 5,370 crores. And therefore, there is a negative change, means 55.1% reduction is in losses. So which is good. But this is on account of 2 things. One is the accounting jugglery here of 101.9 crores, and there is this item of asset monetization cannot be sustained. So therefore, to me, this reduction in losses, I don't have confidence, because if I do a DCF cash flow for BSNL without going into this accounting jugglery, the valuation that I'm going to get will depend upon their revenues, not their other revenues. If the other revenues are being erratic, it cannot be erratic. If they are doing asset monetization on account of lease, this item cannot be erratic. You can clearly see, pause the video and see. And therefore, I have no confidence whether BSNL will be able to generate similar kind of profits or reduction in loss in future, because their revenue from operation hasn't been that much, and their revenue from other is not staying consistent, though their EBITDA margin has increased. No doubt about that. So I will give some credit to BSNL management. They have done operationally better this financial year because they have grown their EBITDA margin, but their profitability, if you do a DCF cash flow, every item in the DCS cash flow cannot look like an exceptional items. Otherwise, this has to be captured here, this line item. You cannot have a revenue from other behaving like this. It has to grow in a either it should grow down or grow up. You cannot be behaving like this. You have got 705 crores in the past quarter, 396 crores and 331 crores, and suddenly in the last quarter you show a 1179.9 crores. That is why, friend, I thought of doing this video to give you the picture. I am not saying that BSNL has not done good. BSNL definitely has done better as far as operationally is concerned, because their EBITDA margin has increased. Those EBITDA numbers do not match with my calculations. So look at the EBITDA numbers which they have given. So this is 396 crores. Mine is a little less because I don't know which item in the cost from the other they have netted out, because this other, if you look at this item, I do not know which item. But even without that, if you look at 18.5% and what they are showing, what BSNL is showing in their number, they are showing an EBITDA margin. So let me just go. EBITDA margin, they are showing the 23.01% and 10.15% in FY2024. So mine is kind of close. You see 18.5% and 8.4%. So friends, you probably understand what is going on as far as BSNL is concerned. So the summary of this video is, in the last two quarter, if you look at this headline, right? This is basically historic milestone. 2 consecutive profit, right? One was 262 crores, another is 280 crores, right? Consecutive. But both these numbers cannot be sustained because the profit which BSNL realized in Q3 was on account of negative amortization, which is not possible. I cannot imagine how can you have negative amortization. And then they fixed this number in this quarter, right? Their amortization, depreciation, amortization numbers got fixed, but they achieved a higher other revenue growth from asset monetization, which is not a sustained number. So if these numbers are not changing, or growing at a sustained level, you can't be sure what this number would be in the near future, and their revenues are not growing. If you look at revenue from operation has just grown 8.7.8% versus it grew at 13.8%, though they have performed operationally better, their EBITDA margin has increased. So that's all, friend, in this video. I hope that you understand. When the accounting numbers, when the annual statement will come, you can reconcile this number. But let me tell you, because these numbers matches with the PIB statement, these are reasonably accurate. Okay, friends? Thank you for your time, friends. And I'll come back with a new video on a new topic next time. Thank you very much, friends, for listening till the end.